اهلا ومرحبا بكم مره اخرى، وهذه الحلقه من وول ستريت. ضيفي هو ستيف فوربس، رئيس مجلس اداره ورئيس تحرير مجله فوربس. ستيف، اهلا بكم مره اخرى. ستيف، كنا نتحدث عن الضرائب ولك راي خاص في الضرائب. انت ترى تخفيض ضرائب وضرائب بشريحه واحده. كنت اقترحت هذا، ولكن الضرائب مهمة للحكومات لكي تستطيع الصرف على المرافق وعلى خطط حفز الاقتصاد وعلى ما هي فكرة بالضبط من تخفيض ضرائب وجعلها في مستوى واحد.
Well, what experience demonstrates is when you have a simple tax code, it's much easier to collect the taxes. And two, when you have low tax rates, you get more economic growth and more formal economy, and therefore more revenues for the government. And in terms of infrastructure, countries are realizing, why should it just be public spending? Why not have public-private partnerships in putting in some of this infrastructure? So once more, if you look around the world and see what is actually achieving an environment for growth, sound currency, governments that don't overspend, and a low benign tax rate regime, make it easy to set up legal businesses, then the economy will flourish and all come out ahead. Research has shown that over the years, regimes that have low tax rates end up having higher growth of revenues than regimes with high tax rates.
أنت مع أن يكون هناك شريحة واحدة للضرائب سواء للدخول العالية أو الدخول المنخفضة. هل ترى في هذا بعض العدل إذا شخص يكسب $1,000,000 أو $10,000,000 يدفع نفس الشريحة مثل شخص يكسب $20,000 أو $50,000 في السنة؟ هل ترى أن هناك عدل في هذا؟
Well, you have exemptions for adults and for children, so you get to meet the basic needs. But once you start putting and complicating the tax code, then it becomes all politics. In this country, in the United States, we've amended our tax code 14,000 times in the last 25 years. It becomes a political plaything. When you have a simple low rate, Singapore has very low rates, Hong Kong has a single low rate, I mentioned Russia, 25 other countries have done the same. They experience much higher economic growth, much less corruption, so everyone wins. Stronger economy, stronger government, people have more opportunity. And when you don't have a complicated tax code, you can't hide the income.
ولكن إذا تم تخفيض الضرائب، الحكومة لن يكون لديها العائد لعمل خطط لحفز الاقتصاد قد تكون مطلوبة لخلق وظائف. فما هو البديل؟ لأن الحكومة عندما تقوم بمشروعات بنية تحتية كبيرة تخلق الكثير من الوظائف، والولايات المتحدة تحتاج إلى الكثير من مشروعات البنية التحتية الآن. فما هو البديل عن هذا؟
Governments get money when they have a strong economy. And so therefore you want to create an environment where you have a strong economy. That's how you create the wealth for infrastructure. Infrastructure comes with the creation of wealth. And again, you can have public-private partnerships. You can have foreign direct investment involved in infrastructure projects and tap the capital markets of the world. It doesn't have to be all internally generated. But the key thing is have an environment of economic freedom where people have a chance to start businesses in an easy way, grow those businesses. Everyone comes out ahead. And government spending does not ultimately stimulate an economy. People in the marketplace create the real wealth. Government can tax it, but it can't create it.
بشكل بسيط يستطيع أي شخص أن يفهمه. ماذا يعجبك في خطة رومني الاقتصادية وماذا لا يعجبك، وماذا يعجبك في خطة أوباما الاقتصادية وماذا لا يعجبك؟
Well, Mr. Obama has gone on what we call a spending binge. So our national debt is the highest it's been other than World War II. He wants to raise taxes on capital. He has put in thousands of new rules and regulations, which is why the recovery from the 2008-2009 recession has been the slowest in American history. Mr. Romney has proposed an across-the-board income tax rate cut of 20% and removing some of the deductions from the code. His running mate, Paul Ryan, has what you might call a semi-flat tax. He has two rates, 10% and then 25%, 10% on first $100,000 after the exemptions, and 25% on income above $100,000. I hope Mr. Romney goes for Mr. Ryan's proposal, but both would help the economy because it lowers the burden on income creation, on risk-taking, and on productive work and success. Also, I think Mr. Romney will have a policy of a more stable dollar. A weak dollar is always disruptive economically. It's like changing the number of minutes in an hour each day. Imagine if the clock changed each day, of 60 minutes one day, 32 minutes the next, 88 the next. Life would be very difficult if the clock was always changing. So too, when the dollar changes in value every second, very, very disruptive. So I think Mr. Romney will stop the cheapening of the dollar of the Federal Reserve. And I think he'll make positive changes on what we call our entitlement programs, such as Social Security and Medicare, for younger people. Leave the benefits alone for those who are on the system, but for younger people where the system won't be around because it's going broke, make positive changes there.
التأمين الاجتماعي أو السوشيال سيكيورتي، هناك آراء مختلفة، هناك آراء ترى خصخصة هذا الموضوع وجعله القطاع الخاص، هنا آراء لا ترى أن هذا مفيد، وهو أعتقد أن الكثير من الأمريكيين يعتمدون على هذا النظام. ما رأيك في هذا النظام ووسائل إصلاحه؟ لأنه أعتقد في عام 2033 لن تستطيع الحكومة أن تدفع كامل المستحقات.
Well, the U.S. economy has enough wealth to pay the benefits of those who are on Social Security today and will be going on it in the near future. Where the reforms have to be made are for people 55 years of age and under. That's where the system blows up.
Yeah.
And so you can make positive changes there, have part of it, especially if you're younger, your money go into your own personal account with sensible rules of diversification and positive things like that. And you can then save the system both for younger people and older people. What the system does now is it told people, you put money in, it's like paying an insurance premium. What the government did, though, was spend all the money. There's nothing left in Social Security, so they rely on current taxes instead of building up reserves. What you want to do is phase in, for younger people, a system where reserves are built up. They own it, not the politicians, and therefore they will get more in their retirement than what the politicians will give them.
هل سيواجه العالم أزمة غذاء؟ الأسعار ترتفع والمحاصيل تنخفض، وخاصة هنا الجفاف، وهل هناك حل لهذه المشكلة؟ عدد سكان العالم يتزايد، المحاصيل تقل والسعر يرتفع. هل نحن سندخل على كارثة غذائية في العالم؟
Well, two things here. One is whenever you get a weak dollar, commodity prices go up. We saw that in the 1970s. Oil went from $3 a barrel to $40 a barrel. When Ronald Reagan and Paul Volcker, who headed our central bank in those days, stopped the inflation, oil went from $40 down to $10 and stabilized at $20, $25. In the last 10 years, you saw the same thing with corn, you saw the same thing with soybeans, a very rapid rise when the dollar was weak, much lower price when the dollar was stable. So if you want to get commodity prices more reasonable, get a stable dollar. The other thing we have to do in our country is stop the crazy laws we have on ethanol, which is based on corn. About 40% of the corn we grow in this country now goes for a fuel that actually ends up hurting the environment instead of helping it. So we should stop that and allow that corn to go on the world market, which would make corn and corn-based foods more affordable to the world population.
ستيف فوربس في كلمتين او في نظرا لضغط البرنامج، ماذا تقول للحكومات وللشعوب العربيه التي شهدت تغيير لكي يستطيعوا ان يستفيدوا اقتصاديا من هذا التغيير؟ في كلمات محدوده. ماذا تنصح؟
Well, the key is using the change to create a new economic environment. And again, look at history and look at countries around the world that have done very well. They could look at Poland, they could look at Sweden, they could look at Estonia, they could look at New Zealand and other countries and adopt the best practices. Sensible tax, simple tax rate regime, make it easy, quick to set up a legal business. ease your labor laws, reform your bankruptcy laws. The World Bank gives a list of things in a survey called Doing Business.
Yeah.
They should do a checklist there. So they start to implement these positive reforms, and you'll be amazed, they will be amazed, that entrepreneurs, people they'd never heard of, rise up. Steve Jobs was abandoned by his biological parents and grew up to be a billionaire and a creator of products that are used by hundreds of millions of people around the world.
ستيف فوربس رئيس تحرير ورئيس مجلس إدارة فوربس، شكرا لك وشكرا لوقتك.
Thank you.
بهذا تنتهي هذه الحلقة من وول ستريت، قدمناها لحضراتكم من ناسداك من التايمز سكوير كالعادة. شكرا لكم وإلى اللقاء الأسبوع القادم.